Things keep getting crazier for the Toronto Maple Leafs as Nick Robertson is set to make his Leafs preseason debut following all the drama that happened in the offseason. And reporters came out and asked him some very interesting questions, and his response might surprise you. Stay tuned for those comments on this episode, as well as we're going to be discussing Matthew Knies. He spoke out on playing with William Nylander's brother, Alex, tonight. So we have a lot to go over in this episode. But before we do, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, about 71% of you guys aren't subscribed. Make sure to hit that button. We're trying to surpass Habs Digest. We just hit 14,000. We can't have them beating us, guys. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys for your continued support. And Darius, a ton to go over today. Nick Robertson is getting ready and is getting set to make his not Leafs debut, but it almost feels like his Leafs debut following what was a dramatic off season. And reporters asked him some pretty hard-hitting questions, and he had some very interesting things to say. And again, we also discussed Alex Nylander is also making his Leafs debut tonight. So tons to go over today. And let's just start with not the Matthew Knies stuff, but let's start with the lines that are going to be taking place in tonight's game, which kind of lends credence to the Nick Robertson thing. So you see the lines of Knies, Kampf, Nylander, McMahon, Holmberg, Robertson. So Robertson is manning the second line, which we expected here. But Nick Robertson was asked by a reporter on if he feels like he's competing with someone for a particular spot on the Leafs roster. He says, "You're always competing. I just got to do what I got to do. I'm focused on myself and playing well, and coaches sort that stuff out. We're all competitors. We're not just competing against one guy. We're always competitors in practice and competitors against other teams in games." And the reason I said in the intro that it might surprise you, this is a very mature response from Nick Robertson and someone that really was put through, I mean, he put himself through it, but was really the headline of the Toronto Maple Leafs news story and news cycle for the past month or two. He was asked, because we know, we'll get into it in a minute, Max Pacioretty, people were saying that he's coming from Nick Robertson's spot, and he actually was asked about that as well, which we'll get into, so stay tuned for that. But Darius, what are your thoughts on these comments? I think they're very mature, very true, and ultimately everybody's competing for the spot at this point, though I do think Nick Robertson's spot is pretty secure on this team.
Yeah, Nick Robertson came into camp and he's had a couple pretty good answers so far to some reporters, and he's only been in front of the media twice so far, including this morning. And like you said, like kind of very mature answers and taking it day by day and honestly moment by moment, game by game, and seeing where he fits into the lineup. And he's going to try his best. Everything I've seen so far through training camp, everything that the Leafs have posted and some other reporters are posted in terms of video, he looks really good. He looks quick. He looks like he's obviously been putting in that work over the offseason. And compared to some other players, he looks very hungry. So I'm excited to see what he does in-game action. And the one thing that I found very interesting this morning is that entire second line might be three guys fighting for the exact same spot on the team, which I thought was very interesting, depending how everything shapes up. So it's going to be interesting to watch tonight. Obviously, you don't have the big players playing. You don't have William Nylander, no Mitch Marner, no Austin Matthews, but still some things to watch tonight. How does Robertson look? Where does he fit in? Obviously, that entire second line. I'm very curious to see how Holmberg looks as well. Obviously, how does Nylander react to being, placed on the first line and playing with NHL caliber talent? And of course, Grebenkin is in the lineup tonight, so that's going to be fun to watch again, see what he is able to do, because he's playing on the line with Cowan. Obviously, Robertson is in the lineup. No Pacioretty tonight, but a couple of guys who are all fighting for pretty much the same spot on the team, depending, again, how Berube sees the lines fitting when the regular season starts. So lots to watch tonight still, and it should be pretty exciting to see what Robertson does with this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it now, obviously Robertson's the biggest headline of this game, but like you mentioned, Alex Nylander getting put with two, what we presume are going to be definitely Matthew Knies going to be a first liner, but David Kampf is going to be on the team in some capacity unless he gets traded. So you have that to look forward to. You also have Easton Cowan and Nikita Grebenkin man in the same line, and Grebenkin obviously took Leafs' hearts by storm in last games. That's another thing to go over. There's tons to be excited about for tonight's game, even though it's not the same star power. But in training camp, you kind of go with a lot of the young guys. But Darius, he was asked directly about any further motivation for Robertson tonight after Pacioretty scored 2 on Sunday. No, it's good to see him do it. He's had a tough road, and for him to start off like that, it's good to see. Now, a very interesting question. He basically just directly asked him, hey, I mean, again, Leafs fans out there when Pacioretty was playing great, we're saying, hey, he's going to come for Nick Robertson's spot. Ultimately, I think Nick Robertson has his spot secured anyways. I don't think Patches is going to be going forward, even though I am the biggest Pacioretty fan at least between us, Darius, I'm a much bigger fan. But it seems like that's an interesting question, a very good response again, I would assume. I mean, he said no, he's not, and no further motivation. I don't think he feels like he's competing directly with one player in particular. Like you said earlier, he's competing with himself. So I'd like to see this. And I'm excited to see him play tonight and see what he has, because even if it's not direct, I feel like there's some maybe some subconscious pressure there, considering everything that happened this offseason.
Yeah, I don't know if he should be worried about what any one player is doing in training camp or in preseason games. He should be worried about what he can bring to the table. So it was, again, another pretty mature answer. And I'm not sure what everyone kind of expected. It was a very direct question, that's for
Yeah.
sure. But I'm not sure what everyone was expecting him to say, because at the end of the day, this could end up being his teammate. I don't think if he shouldn't be focused on what other players are doing. Obviously, keep tabs. I'm not saying like, close your eyes and not pay attention to anything, but he should be focusing on what he can bring to the lineup and how it could be different or add to his game, right? And really make a good first impression to Craig Berube, because there's a couple guys like Pacioretty, like you mentioned, Gulbenkian, we made a video on, who have been so far. So he's got to do something tonight to hopefully separate himself. And I don't know if I agree fully with his spot being guaranteed. I think there's a more likely chance than not that he does end up on the team in game one, or even, to start the season. I don't think he's going to get traded, but where is it in the lineup? I feel like he's fighting for a top 6 position. That's really what he's fighting for at this point, to fit in and play with better players, to play with higher skilled players. So he doesn't kind of get dragged around the lineup for the rest of the season or anything like that. But he's got to show that he belongs. And I'm not saying that he doesn't belong, but he has to make a good first impression to Craig Berube tonight. So I'm excited to see what he's doing, because a couple other guys had their moments already.
Yeah, we've seen him on the third line last year. But I mean, again, Gulbenkian, with him in there now, he's coming for his spot as well. He's coming for a lot of these guys' spot. And it seems like Craig Berube is a big fan of the young guys, which might bode well for them. And depending how Nick Robertson plays, he definitely has something to play for in these games. But let's touch on Matthew Knies, who's actually going to be manning the first line with Alex Nylander, which is William Nylander's brother, which is a funny dynamic there. He said, asked to compare the brothers, the way they get dressed, everything they have is similar. He's an incredible player. He skates well, shoots the puck just like Willie does, so it's going to be fun. I'm excited. And talking about guys who have a lot to prove in tonight's game, and just in general for training camp, Alex Nylander, who doesn't have a direct pathway he's not on a two-way contract, and because he's not on a two-way contract, they're going to have to do some maneuvering if they want to get him up, especially compared to guys like Gulbenkian, Alex Steves, all these guys. But Steves was also playing tonight in the fourth line. So Alex Nylander, he's getting the first line duty with Matthew Knies. And something interesting to note, that Alex Nylander's getting the first line spot and not Nick Robertson there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's crazy that the Leafs are already giving him. It's not too crazy, but it's crazy that, I feel like there's a couple other players that could be in that spot, like Robertson, let's say, for example, but they're giving him a really big opportunity off the start of training camp here in the preseason to show something. Because, in some of the videos I've seen, I talked about Robertson, some of the videos I've seen that the Leafs have posted and other reporters, he looks maybe a step behind in certain ways, like decision making and things like that, and maybe just intensity. I'm not saying that, he's not bringing it. Obviously, he seems driven and he wanted to come to Toronto to fight for an opportunity to play for the Leafs. But I think the most likely scenario here in the grand scheme of things is he starts the year with the Marlies. But, he does have an opportunity in front of himself tonight to make another, like I've been mentioning, great first impression to Craig Berube and see what he can bring to the table as well. Because he's going to be playing with pretty good players in, Matthew Knies, and David Kampf is an NHL player. So, he's going to have an opportunity here to make some plays and see what's going on there. But great opportunity in front of him here. Again, I'm managing my expectations. It's very easy to get excited about this player because he was really good in junior. Obviously, his second half last year was really good too. And obviously, he's William Nylander's brother. So easy to get excited about. I am excited about the opportunity he has to see what he does with it. But I am managing my expectations in terms of, the grand scheme of things. If he makes the team out of camp, I don't think that's very likely, but excited to see what he does tonight.
Yeah, we also see Simon Benoit. We're back on the train. We get to see him.
Yes.
And it's going to be exciting to see what goes on with all that. But let us know in the comments what your thoughts are on all of this. Let me know. And down below, do you agree with Alex Nylander being on the first line? And what your thoughts are on the Nick Robertson comments. See you guys later.